The weather pattern is about to shift in a major way, and it's important to understand what's coming because it's likely to catch many people off guard. Over the next few days, the risk of severe weather will steadily increase, bringing the potential for damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes across areas affecting millions. After this initial period, the jet stream is expected to become much more erratic. That shift will make forecasting severe weather especially challenging for several consecutive days. The locations at risk, along with the types of hazards, could change quickly from one day to the next, increasing the chances of people being unprepared. Toward the end of the month, long-range models are already hinting at a potentially significant storm system that's worth paying attention to now. To understand why all of this is happening, it helps to look at the jet stream, which plays a key role in shaping weather patterns across the United States. At the moment, there is a pronounced deep in the jet stream over the Rockies. This deep is helping sustain a large upper-level storm system that is drawing moisture from the Pacific Ocean and pushing it eastward into the country. That setup will lead to widespread showers and thunderstorms across much of the US in the coming days, keeping conditions active through the early part of the week. There is a lot of atmospheric energy present in this pattern, and it will show up in different ways depending on the day. However, the important point to note is that, despite the activity, the current jet stream pattern does not favor a large, organized severe weather outbreak. The levels of instability and wind shear needed for a widespread, multi-state tornado outbreak just aren't present right now. So while storms are expected, this setup doesn't resemble the large-scale outbreaks we've seen in recent weeks. Instead, what we're dealing with are what I'd call mesoscale, severe weather days. These are situations where severe storms can still occur, and sometimes be quite intense, but they're much harder to pinpoint several days in advance. The exact location of storm development can shift unexpectedly, storms may end up stronger than models indicate, and people can be caught off guard because there isn't a clearly defined high-risk zone on the map. These are the kinds of days where it's important to stay alert, even if the forecast doesn't seem especially concerning at first glance. Looking at today specifically, there's a marginal severe weather risk stretching from southern New England down into Kentucky, along with a slight risk in far western Texas. In the mid-Atlantic, the primary concern is isolated damaging wind gusts. Meanwhile, areas south of Lubbock could see large to very large hail this afternoon, along with some potentially impressive storm structures. The tornado threat today is quite low, but not entirely zero. An isolated, brief spin-up can't be ruled out. In Dixie Alley, expect more scattered, popcorn-style thunderstorms through the day. These won't be well organized, but they can still produce gusty winds and brief heavy rain, so it's something to keep in mind if you have outdoor plans. By around 5 p.m. Eastern Time, scattered severe storms are expected to move across the mid-Atlantic at speeds of about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Residents in West Virginia and Kentucky should keep an eye out in particular, as a few of these storms could evolve into left-moving supercells, bringing an unexpected twist to the afternoon weather. Most of the activity should weaken by the evening hours, but overall it will be an active afternoon, with storm coverage reaching roughly 70% across the mid-Atlantic region. Thursday looks relatively quiet in terms of severe weather. There's only a marginal risk, mainly southeast of Denver, where isolated large hail and damaging winds are the primary concerns. An isolated tornado can't be completely ruled out in Colorado, but the overall threat is quite limited. Elsewhere, scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue across the Ohio Valley and the southeast. These will mostly bring gusty winds, small hail, and lightning, typical summertime storm activity that shouldn't catch experienced weather watchers off guard. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area extending back toward Abilene, a few pop-up afternoon storms are possible, with isolated instances of damaging winds and hail. Meanwhile, southeastern Colorado could see a more focused area of stronger storms, particularly in rural locations, with risks of damaging winds and large hail. If those storms remain somewhat isolated and don't quickly merge together, the wind shear in that region could support a brief tornado, though the overall threat remains low into the evening before storms weaken near Dodge City, Kansas. Friday is where things start to become more notable and worth closer attention. A slight risk of severe weather is expected across parts of Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma, with a broader marginal risk that includes cities like Abilene and Oklahoma City. The main concerns will be damaging winds and large hail, along with a low chance of a tornado. Across the southeast on Friday, more rounds of thunderstorms are expected, bringing gusty winds, cloud-to-ground lightning, and some small hail. There could also be an isolated severe threat stretching across the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, and Dixie Alley, though the overall risk in those regions appears low. The most interesting setup on Friday will likely be in the Texas Panhandle, where isolated supercells may develop during the evening. These storms are expected to remain fairly discreet, and while there is a small tornado risk, limited moisture in the atmosphere should keep that threat close to minimal. Across parts of Kansas down into Nebraska, clusters of thunderstorms could bring a marginal severe weather threat on Friday, mainly in the form of damaging wind gusts. If you have outdoor plans in that area, it's worth staying alert so you are not caught off guard. By Saturday morning, conditions begin to calm slightly, although it will still be an active weather day in many regions. The upside is that storms are not expected to be well organized, which lowers the risk of any major tornado outbreak. The same system responsible for Friday's storms will shift into the Ohio Valley, spreading scattered to numerous thunderstorms across the southeast as well. While there will be plenty of moisture and some instability in place, the lack of strong wind shear should keep the tornado threat low, resulting mostly in typical scattered thunderstorms. Sunday follows a similar pattern, with storm activity focused mainly across the southeast. There is some genuinely positive news here. This region has been dealing with ongoing drought conditions, and the incoming rain will be beneficial. Areas like Houston could see roughly 4 to 7 inches of rainfall over the next 8 days, with New Orleans expecting similar totals. Cities such as Atlanta and Charleston, South Carolina, are forecast to receive anywhere from about half an inch to a couple of inches. This rainfall will be a welcome relief for communities that have been struggling with persistent dry conditions. By Monday, conditions should turn somewhat quieter across the Great Plains and Midwest as high pressure begins to build in, offering a temporary break. However, by Tuesday into Wednesday, a new trough pattern is expected to develop, along with an upper-level low-pressure system. The exact severity of weather by midweek remains uncertain, but there is potential for another round of severe weather between Thursday and Saturday, particularly across the central and northern plains extending into the Midwest. Temperatures are also playing a key role in the current pattern. Right now, conditions across much of the Great Plains are running about 15 to 20 degrees below average for this time of year. In places like Liberal, Kansas, Kansas City, and St. Louis, temperatures this afternoon could be as much as 20 to 25 degrees below normal for late May, which is quite unusual and has contributed to the limited severe weather over the past couple of days. By tomorrow, nearly the entire country will be running below average in terms of temperatures, with the West Coast being the main exception. That kind of widespread cool pattern is quite unusual for late May. In the northern parts of the country, overnight lows are currently dipping into the 30s and 40s, which is especially notable for this time of year. If you are in places like Minneapolis or across the upper Midwest, this stretch of cooler weather is something to appreciate while it lasts, because it won't stick around for long. By the middle of next week, temperatures in cities like Minneapolis and even Fargo are expected to climb back into the 80s. That return of warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico is a key reason why the end of May is worth watching closely for severe weather. Whenever you see a pattern where warm, moisture-rich air surges back in after a cooler period like this, it often creates a favorable setup for stronger severe weather. This becomes even more concerning if a low-pressure system is moving out of the Rockies at the same time, and right now, both of those signals are appearing in the forecast models for late next week. That combination is something meteorologists are paying close attention to. Looking further ahead, several models are indicating the possibility of a fairly strong storm system developing toward the end of next week. It's still about 8 to 9 days out, so details are far from certain. However, the consistency across multiple models makes it worth noting early. There are indications that a powerful system could move toward the Rockies, and if it follows the projected path, it may lead to a more widespread and organized severe weather event to close out the month. That said, specifics like exact locations and impacts will become clearer with time, so no defined risk areas are being outlined yet. The main takeaway is that the overall pattern heading into the end of May is one to watch carefully. One final note, while much of the country deals with cooler temperatures and potential severe weather, the West Coast is expected to stay largely dry, a part of the story that hasn't been getting as much attention. Fire weather concerns will remain elevated across parts of Western California, especially when winds begin to increase. Ongoing drought conditions in the region are not improving, and this weather pattern isn't expected to bring any meaningful relief. Farther north, areas like Seattle and Portland may see a slight cool down next week, but it won't come with much, if any, rainfall. Across California, Oregon, and Washington, the overall pattern stays dry and continues to pose a heightened fire risk. As we move deeper into the warmer months, this is something that will need close monitoring. The weather pattern over the next several days is expected to keep evolving, so staying updated will be important as conditions change.